Maserati MSG Racing is a former Formula E team that managed 3 race wins and 7 podiums from 2023 to 2025. They were renamed to Citroën Racing for the 25-26 season, but I've brought them back, this time into Formula 1. I signed both Jack Crawford and Callum Voisin before simulating 10 seasons in F125 MyTeam. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about this video's sponsor, F1 Clash, the officially licensed Formula 1 mobile game. Step into the world of managing your very own Formula 1 team, customizing your livery, signing your own drivers, and rising to the top of the standings. You will be making the strategy calls, where every split-second decision could be the difference between victory and finishing at the back of the pack. Experience the real teams, the real drivers, and the real circuits from the official Formula 1 season, with the new 2026 season being brought to the game. Race against other players in live 1v1 PvPs, join clubs, and rise up the leagues to become the best in the business. The best part is, it's completely free to play. There's no need to spend any money unless you want to buy some bonuses. I've personally been playing F1 Clash for a few months now, and I love having an F1 game on me wherever I go, whether that be on the bus, on the train, or I could even play it at home while watching the real life races, when they're on. And I must admit, for a mobile game, the graphics are pretty damn good too. Now you can download F1 Clash using my QR code on the screen, or by using my link in the description, which heavily supports the channel. Let's see who makes the better strategist, and thank you once again to F1 Clash for sponsoring this video. In what would have been the 2025 season, McLaren would not be the champions. Instead, we saw Ferrari win their first Constructors' Championship in almost 20 years. McLaren ended just 10 points behind, while the newest Maserati team finished down in P9 after scoring 9 points. The Formula 3 icon Callum Voisin would score the majority of those points as he finished in P14, while Crawford ended up in P21. Oscar Piastri ended down in P5 after he failed to win any races, with Max Verstappen finishing in 3rd place. He finished just 4 points behind the Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc, who finished as the runner-up, but couldn't quite match the real-life champion of Lando Norris, who matched his achievements in the digital universe. Just 6 points separated the top 2, with Norris's 6 wins being compared to Verstappen's 2. Runner-up Leclerc managed to win 4 races, with his teammate Hamilton winning 3, and George Russell rounding out the season with a single race win. Fernando Alonso will be the only driver to enter retirement at the end of this season, with the Aston Martin seat being given to Kimi Antonelli. Max Verstappen then moves over to join the Silver Arrows, with Carlos Sainz making his return to the Red Bull family. Oliver Bearman will join Williams, allowing Paul Aaron to make his debut after he signs for Haas. And the first set of regulation changes will hit both the chassis and the powertrain departments. Ferrari are knocked off at the top spot by Mercedes, who returned to the very top of the standings for the first time since 2021. Maserati gained an extra point this year which allowed them to move up to P8, after Crawford managed 9 points and Voisin only managed to gain 1. Now after moving to the Mercedes team, Max Verstappen remained in 3rd place, once again finishing just behind Charles Leclerc, who stayed as the runner-up. Lando Norris would also go on to win another World Drivers' Championship. He opened the gap up to 31 points, despite both drivers winning 3 races each. Verstappen would end the season with the most race wins though after he took 4, while Russell took another 2, and Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton all won a single race each. Lewis Hamilton will also say goodbye and retire at the end of this season, with Isaac Hadjar joining the former champions. Jack Crawford will leave Maserati in favour of the Racing Bulls, allowing Pierre Gasly to join the newest team. Nico Hülkenberg makes the move to the open Alpine seat, with Pepe Marti coming in for his debut at Audi. Maserati will then have a completely brand new lineup as they replace Callum Voisin with Liam Lawson, while Zach O'Sullivan comes in for the Racing Bulls. Alex Albon and Oscar Piastri will swap seats, just like Yuki Tsunoda and Kimi Antonelli at Red Bull and Aston Martin. The powertrain department will once again see regulation changes, this time alongside the aerodynamics department. Mercedes have continued their reign at the top of the Constructors' Championship, winning another title ahead of McLaren and Ferrari. Maserati fell down to P10 after only managing 3 points, 2 of which were scored by Pierre Gasly, while Liam Lawson finished just behind in P18. Verstappen fell down to P5, being overtaken by Oscar Piastri, who took his new Williams into the top 3. He finished just behind Lando Norris, who failed to retain a 3rd title, after he was beaten by Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc, who topped the standings to win his very first world title. Leclerc did have a very strong season and it was completed with 7 race wins, while runner-up Norris only managed 5. Oscar Piastri won a race, with both Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz both managing to win another race themselves. The next driver to retire will be Nico Hülkenberg, leaving an open seat at Alpine, which is taken by Zach O'Sullivan, allowing the Racing Bulls to provide another debut, this time for Zane Maloney. There will be 3 pairs of drivers swapping teams. First, Gabriel Bortoleto and Liam Lawson will swap teams, while both Red Bull drivers swap with Williams and Mercedes, which sees Piastri and George Russell becoming the newest Red Bull pairing. The aerodynamics department is then once again here with some regulation changes. And for a third season in a row, Mercedes were able to win the Constructors' Championship, beating the Williams team who moved up to the runners-up. Maserati improved on their result from last season as they moved up to P7 after scoring 87 points. Bortoleto secured P14 in his debut season, while Pierre Gasly gave a very respectable P9. Williams would keep their driver in third place, with Antonelli continuing on from Oscar Piastri, who finished down in P7. Charles Leclerc was unable to retain his title and fell to the runner-up spot once again, being overtaken by Max Verstappen, who was able to return to championship glory and finally win his 5th world title. He won 5 races on his way to that 5th title, while former champ Leclerc only managed 2. Both Kimi Antonelli and Lando Norris managed 3 race wins each, while Russell managed 2, and Gasly recorded Maserati's first ever Formula 1 Grand Prix victory. But after that, Gasly will leave the sport, with the Maserati team bringing in another race winner of George Russell. Jack Crawford will also leave the Racing Bulls, while Carlos Sainz is made a free agent from Mercedes. Liam Lawson will then return to the Racing Bulls, while Esteban Ocon returns to the Mercedes family. Paul Aron joins Audi, with debuts being given to Tim Tramnitz, Taylor Barnard and Richard Verschoor at both Red Bull and Haas. Yuki Tsunoda and Kimi Antonelli will also then swap seats as we go into the midpoint of the simulation. The powertrain department also returns to having regulation changes, this time being hit with the chassis department. In what seems to be out of nowhere, Maserati are the latest Constructors' Champions, winning the title in just their 5th season. The Mercedes had an absolutely terrible season after they dropped down to P8, while Ferrari managed to remain around the top. Gabriel Bortoleto improved a hell of a lot, moving up to P5, just behind Piastri and Kimi Antonelli, who took his Aston Martin to 3rd place. Charles Leclerc remained in a runner-up spot, with a brand new champion set to be crowned. Alongside the Constructors, Maserati will also win their first Drivers' Championship, after George Russell took his car to the very top of the sport. He would outscore everyone else, including his 5 race wins, while both Leclerc and Antonelli ended with 4 wins each. Gabriel Bortoleto managed to win his first Grand Prix, with Lando Norris also winning once, just like Paul Aron, who somehow took his Audi to victory. But despite that insane season from Aron, he was dropped by the Audi team, who chose to bring Oliver Behrman over instead. Franco Colapinto will then make a move back to Williams, and Liam Lawson makes a move to Alpine. Tim Tramnitz is relegated to the Racing Bulls seat, while Isaac Hadjar makes his eventual move over to Red Bull. Both Lando Norris and Esteban Ocon are dropped from their teams, with Nicolas Solov coming in at McLaren and Jack Crawford returning to drive for Mercedes. The final open seat is in at Ferrari, which is given to Victor Martins as he is set to make his debut. Now some big regulation changes will come into effect at the end of the season, affecting their aero, chassis and durability departments. Maserati were unfortunately unable to continue their success, dropping to P3, while Ferrari returned to the very top of the standings once again. Bortoleto had dropped down to P9, while the former champ George Russell dropped down to P5. Oscar Piastri returned to move up to 3rd place, being beaten by Kimi Antonelli, who moved up to 2nd. A returning champion will also come in the form of Charles Leclerc, who took his Ferrari back to winning world titles. He won 5 races across this season, just ahead of Antonelli, who managed to win 4. Verstappen returned to winning races after he took 3, while Piastri took 2, and last season's champ Russell won just once. Gabriel Bortoleto will leave the Maserati team at the end of this season, with another champion of Max Verstappen being brought in. Liam Lawson joins the fallen giants, with Enzo Fittipaldi being brought in at Alpine. Isaac Hadjar will leave Red Bull after just a single season, with Zane Maloney being promoted, while Joshua Dirksen is brought in by the Racing Bulls. Nicolas Solov is replaced at McLaren by Lando Norris, just reversing the move from last season, with Esteban Ocon coming in to replace Franco Colapinto at Williams. Some more major changes as all performance departments are then hit with some more regulation changes. And just like that, Maserati are back at the top, winning a 2nd Constructors' Championship, with Ferrari falling down to P5. Max Verstappen had a very solid first season with the team after he managed to finish in P5 himself. Lando Norris also had a strong return season, which saw him finish in 3rd place, just behind Kimi Antonelli, who managed to stay in P2. Once again matching Maserati's success, George Russell was able to return to championship glory and win his 2nd world title with the team. Kimi finished just 2 points behind Russell while winning 2 more races, as his 5 race wins wasn't quite enough to beat Russell's 3. 3rd place Lando Norris also won 3 times, with Oscar Piastri managing 4, but Verstappen won just once with his new team. But after a single season, Zane Maloney was dropped by Red Bull, who opted to bring the reigning champion George Russell back to their team. Oliver Behrman is brought in by the reigning Constructors' Champs, with Joshua Dirksen joining Audi and Richard Verschoor joining the Racing Bulls. Victor Martins moves over to Haas, allowing former race winner Gabriel Bortoleto to return and drive for Ferrari. The powertrain department is hit with changes once again, this time paired with the durability department. Maserati continued to finish at the top of the Constructors to win a 2nd consecutive title and a 3rd overall. Red Bull remained in 2nd place, just ahead of Ferrari, who jumped above McLaren. Both Maserati drivers did have very strong seasons, with Max Verstappen moving up to P4, but would finish just 2 points behind his teammate Oliver Bearman, who took his Maserati to 3rd place. Bearman himself would only finish just 3 points behind Antonelli, who once again finished in the runner-up spot. And for the first time since Season 2, Lando Norris is the Formula 1 World Champion, as he takes his McLaren back to the very, very top. Kimi Antonelli once again finished the season with the most race wins after he managed 5, and the champion only managing 4. George Russell down in P6 managed 3 race wins, with Verstappen winning twice, and both Oliver Bearman and Charles Leclerc winning a single race each. Max Verstappen was able to extend his career quite far, but will eventually retire from the sport at the age of 35. The Maserati bring Gabriel Bortoleto back to the team, with George Russell moving to Ferrari, while the other Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc takes his seat at the Red Bull. Jack Crawford will also be replaced, with the Mercedes team bringing in Zane Maloney, while Williams decide to drop Esteban Ocon in favour of bringing Alex Albon back to the team. Zeco Sullivan gets a move to McLaren, with Taylor Barnard joining Alpine. The final seats allow for both Paul Aron and Nicolas Sola to return to the sport to drive for Ferrari and Haas respectively. All performance departments are then once again hit with some regulation changes. At the end of the penultimate season, Maserati were knocked off at the top by the Red Bull team, who win their very first title of the simulation. Aston Martin also took the Maserati team, who ended up in 3rd place. Oliver Bearman had a rough season which saw him drop all the way down to P9. However, Gabriel Bortoleto would return to the team with a bang, matching Bearman's result from last season up in 3rd place. Last season's champion dropped down to P4, with George Russell taking his new Ferrari car to the runner-up spot, but was no match for Kimi Antonelli, as he outscored Russell by 99 points to win his very first Formula 1 Drivers' Championship. Winning the most races would finally get Antonelli his title after he took another 8 race wins, while the runner-up Russell actually failed to win any. Lando Norris managed 3 race wins this year, Leclerc managed 2, and the rest was split between Gabriel Bortoleto, Oscar Piastri and Oliver Bearman. 2 drivers will fail to reach the final season, with both Joshua Dirksen and Lance Stroll being dropped from their teams. Taylor Barnard joins Audi, with Pierre Gasly making a long-awaited return to Alpine. Zane Maloney will then take the open Aston Martin seat, allowing for Jack Crawford to return to Mercedes. 2 sets of drivers will swap teams, with Lando Norris joining Maserati and Oliver Bearman going the other way. Charles Leclerc will also return to Ferrari, as George Russell moves back to the Constructors' Champions of Red Bull. The final set of regulation changes will then hit both the powertrain and durability departments. It was more success for Maserati in the final season, as they were able to return to the top of the Constructors' Championship as Red Bull fell to 3rd place. Gabriel Bortoleto fell just outside the top 3 once again, finishing just behind George Russell, who also dropped a position to 3rd place. Lando Norris had a strong return season as he would be involved in the title fight, but would fall about 35 points short of the reigning champion Kimi Antonelli, who took his Aston Martin to yet another World Drivers' Championship. He managed to take another 5 race wins, with George Russell winning 4 and Norris winning 3. Charles Leclerc managed to win twice upon his return to Ferrari, while Gabriel Bortoleto and Victor Martins both took 1 victory each. And that reaches the end of the Maserati 10-year simulation. But who were the standout drivers? Now let's combine the entire decade and take a look at the stats. 4 different teams were able to secure a Constructors' title, with Red Bull managing just once, Ferrari winning twice and McLaren failing to win any. Mercedes had a strong decade to win 3 titles, but the newest Maserati Formula 1 team would go down as the most successful constructor after winning the title on 4 different occasions. 5 drivers were able to win a Drivers' Championship, with Max Verstappen winning once to achieve his 5th title. George Russell, Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli all managed to win 2 titles each, with Lando Norris winning 3 titles despite him constantly leaving and rejoining the sport. 13 different drivers were able to win a race, with Victor Martins, Pierre Gasly and Paul Aron all winning once. Oliver Bearman and Carlos Sainz managed 2 race wins each, just behind Gabriel Bortoleto, who managed 3. Lewis Hamilton was just ahead after he managed to win 4, before we jump up to Piastri with 9, Verstappen with 18. George Russell ended the simulation with 22 race wins, Leclerc with 30, just behind Lando Norris on 31. But to go with his 2 titles, Antonelli would end the simulation with the most race wins after he managed to secure 34. And that is going to wrap up another video on F1 25. Once again, a massive thank you to F1 Clash for sponsoring this video. And make sure you drop a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you haven't already. There will be plenty of links in the description, including the Maserati mod I've used, as well as all my different social media platforms, including my new Patreon and my Discord server. Don't forget to check out F1 Clash, as it really does help the channel out a lot. But that is going to be all from me today, so I hope you have a good day, evening or night wherever you are, and goodbye.